Hello there. So today I want to go through what an atheist is. I've done this before and I want to do it again because I've actually, the last time I did this, I made the definition. The definition is that a lack of belief in God or gods, basically. That's a definition you find on Google. And then I realized there's more to it than that. Because if someone says they don't believe there's a God or gods out there, but they believe something spiritual or supernatural exists, they can't really, with logical consistency, say logical coherence. It doesn't make any sense to say I don't believe there's a god or gods, but however, I do believe ghosts maybe exist, or I do believe there is a power out there that, let's say, exists for reincarnation, or I don't know, lightning bolts is from some supernatural being that I believe in, but I don't believe in a god or gods. It's like, this doesn't really make sense. You're basically, when you're saying you believe supernatural or spiritual things do exist, you can't say you're an atheist. The conclusion is you are an agnostic because you just can't know. You can't say, I know that I don't believe there is a God. That doesn't make any sense. So my definition, I still stands. I still think it stands. However, I want to add on to that. And this is really important. I want to go through what an atheist is. I want to go through what it means to be a devout religious person. And I want us to. I actually want to make it that we can understand a way that we can talk to each other, communicate with each other in a way that the way things are, the tension between the two sides, what's going on here, it's just not possible. Everyone's talking too past each other, even when they try. The atheists have their view of things. The religious people have their views on things and there's no middle ground really. There are people that find themselves leaning one way or the other, but it's there's a lot to get through with that. I think there's a lot to break down what's in between to actually be able to have conversation that I think we should be having in this country. So I want to go through breaking this down. So start with atheist. We'll get to religious today or another time. We'll start with atheist. Atheist. Okay, it's you don't believe there's a God, lack of belief in God or gods, and then adding on the supernatural and spiritual stuff, you believe in that, then you can't be an atheist. I still think holds true. But when you talk about what an agnostic is, ask any atheist what an agnostic is. They will tell you A cancels out the word gnostic, meaning I don't know. You don't know. That's what an agnostic is to not know. People you don't know what it is. Someone who doesn't know whether there's a God or not, they're agnostic about it. Right? That's what the word agnostic means. But atheist, if you think about atheist is not being translated the same way. It's not being used with the same formula. Why is that? I have no idea. But I think we should use the same formula. Atheist is A canceling out theist. What is theist? Is theist just a lack of belief in God or gods? Or is theist a belief in a God that comes with a religion, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, whatever it is? And when you're saying you're atheist, you are canceling that out. That's what I think atheist is. I do not think atheist is just, oh, you lack belief in a God or gods, you don't believe or whatever. And really, ultimately, if you just say it's just that, but you're under the supernatural spiritual thing, you're now broadening the spectrum. You're broadening what it is to be an atheist. You're trying to get as many people under that umbrella as possible so you can have more people on your side to fight against those who you hate. That's what seems to be going on. I used to listen to the Atheist Experience, and the guy would be like, I don't know, this and that. And the guy would ask him, like, well, simply this and that, do you believe in not? And then the guy's like, I guess not. And he's like, there you go, you're an atheist. And they're just like, come all in, come off. Like, at the end of the day, when we're having conversations on things, this is another thing really important. Everything has to be objective measures. If things are not objective measures, and we're trying to have conversations here, we're not going to get anywhere. The second you tell me everything is subjective, there's no conversation to be had. Everything has objective measures to it, and we have to talk within those measures. That's the important thing. Okay, so once you say it's subjective, it's done. So now, objectively, people can believe in God or not believe in God. I think this idea of belief in God or not belief in God is kind of besides the point. A lot of people, they believe there's a God, but they live as if there isn't a God. And this is crucial because atheists would put these people doing bad things under the spectrum of theists. And there's what a theist is, and then there's like what it actually means to be a person who is living with the lifestyle they believe within God. They're godly people. They actually every aspect of their life that they're trying to do to serve God. But a lot of people who consider themselves to be a theist, they believe in the Bible and that there is a God, aren't necessarily doing that. There is, as atheists has pointed out time and time again, there's many criminals in prison who are theists, meaning that whatever happened in their life, they weren't living as godly people. They weren't doing that, so they ended up in jail. They committed crimes, and they were living as I would call secular. They were living atheists. They were living with rejecting God. These people, are people going to condone the behavior that caused them to end up in prison? Are theists doing this? This doesn't make any sense. So an atheist can do things living within a way that's actually more godly, even if they don't believe there's a God. What you believe or not believe, I don't think is actually the point. How you're living is the point. Where these things are learned from is the point. So if you could find me a society that has taught these ideals and these morals and these values and all that stuff to be a good thing and pass them down generation after generation, that's not, let's say, Judeo-Christian values or anything like that, you could find how you learned it from that other thing from thousands of years ago. Good luck. I don't think that's possible. I think these things were learned and passed down from that. So I would argue that, and a lot of Christians have argued this. I've heard, I think Jordan Peterson, I think it is, or someone, there's someone that argued that Sam Harris lives like a theist. He lives like a Christian. I guess if he embraces ideals that were passed down from Judeo-Christian teachings, he doesn't have to believe in God to actually be living a more theistic lifestyle than a person who believes, who is living a more atheist lifestyle. All this is possible. Now there's a lot of conversation in between believing or not believing. This is what I think is really important. If someone says they don't believe in God, well, what do you believe in? What is the basis for what you believe in? And then someone says they do believe in God. Okay, well, do you condone or condemn this or that? And what is this? And be able to identify, okay, this is things against what God is for, and this is what He's for. A lot of people just argue. Well, look at all these religious people. I've heard this argument actually just today or yesterday. Someone said, look at all these religious people committing, they're actually paying prostitutions or whatever. They're paying for a prostitute. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, these people are living, they're doing sins. They believe in God. They are maybe religious people to the extent that they do the traditions. I think if you're growing up with the traditions, you're just doing the tradition, that's kind of your nature. That doesn't mean because you're following the traditions that you're actually a devout religious person. I don't think that's right. You are a devout religious person if all that what you're doing isn't just because you were raised to do it. If you're actually keeping in mind that you're trying to live a life serving God, that's what it means to be a devout religious person. You're trying to serve God. Everything you're doing, your behavior and the customs and everything is all to serve God and to better what God wants for your life. But if you're just considered a theist, as an atheist would call you, and you just happen to be committing crimes and doing all these things outside of what God wants of you, there's a lot of conversation to be had. I can't go through all of it right now. There's too much there. We can get through all of it over time, but there's much more conversation to be had with this idea that someone who is an atheist doesn't mean they actually reject theism entirely, and someone who is a theist doesn't mean they're living like a devout religious person. And yeah, that's all I got for that. All the best, and thanks for watching.